Namaste everyone.
Namaste.
So we are from India and we start our presentation regarding today's case.
Yes, so the case was regarding the upcoming boom of 3D printing. So starting with the advantages, it has certain unique advantages over the traditional methods that are being used currently by the main manufacturing and production houses. So the main advantages that 3D printing offers is that it fastens the product development process. Like for example, I'm a designer, I'm a design company, I make ideas, I make concepts and I conceptualize product, and if I want to realize that product, if I want to make a prototype, I have to be dependent on a third party or I have to outsource that manufacturing. So what 3D printing does is it removes that outsourcing. Now I can make my own prototype, I can design my own thing, and I can see, I can do pilot testing on this, I can reiterate on this, then I can make a good, nice product. So this is one of the major advantages of 3D printing. And regarding the process, currently the traditional processes as they are used, it involves a wide network of so many industries. So many industries are linked in a way. In this link they form this supply chain, the traditional supply chain, which supports this whole thing. And it is the result of that whole change. The product development thing is so cumbersome presently. And one of the another technological advantage is that there are no waste reduction. Like if I want to something made out of plastic or a metal, then there would be no waste that will be associated with that, and the product will be of high quality and of high finish. And coming to the disadvantages, this is a new thing, so very few people know about this. So there is this technology gap. People are not aware about the processes, and since they are not aware, there is no innovation in those processes. How to make that cheap? And another disadvantage is that a 3D printer is specific for a particular material. Like I have a printer and I can make products only out of plastic. So if I want to make something out of wood or out of metal or out of alloys, then I cannot do that on that. So the 3D printers existing are very specific to the material. So this is all because there's very less technical know-how. If there had been much technical awareness, the people would have innovated and produced more efficient ways to make it cheap and more compatible to other things. And coming to the limitation, it's the same thing. It is expensive. It is very specific to particular things. So there's a need of integrating all these things. So many specific 3D printers. There's a need for integration of these technologies. Now my friend will.
So what my friend was trying to elaborate here was that why did 3D printing technology or the trend did not catch on in the last 30 years. So from then a lot has changed, and now I'll prove to you why this 3D printing trend is inevitable to come in the coming recent years. Because first, this 3D printing technology gives user the power to customize his own products, which in a very long future might be the future of each and every product we might use, because each and every person is individual, each and every person is unique, and everyone wants to express their unique themselves in a unique way. One more thing which is important here is that if we use this 3D printing technology and the trend, the whole supply chain management and the whole traditional supply chain will revolutionize. There will be no inventory costs, there will be no transportation costs in the supply chain, and there will be just the consumer and the retailer, eliminating this whole middle line, the supply chain, the value chain we talk about, which can be very beneficial. Now because of these advantages, this shows the clear advantages of 3D printing. But where are we in the current technologies of 3D printing? 3D printing, currently 3D printing has a lot of around 500 patents were filed last year on 3D printing, and this shows if you see that graph, you'll see that the amount of patents have been increasing exponentially every year. This shows that almost many people are devoting their research to this 3D printing field, and this shows that there is a lot of innovation going on in this 3D printing field. And and also I can give you, there was an example of a particular type of 3D printer which costed 10,000, and just because of its patent expiring, it now costs $300. So this shows the potential amount of cost reduction that can happen with these innovations. When these things will combine, this will lead to this trend change into 3D printing. Now my friend will elaborate on the.
So adding to what my friend has said, 3D printing is that sort of thing. It requires a certain change from the traditional methods. There is no existing channel through which 3D printing technology can enter into the current industries. So either there has to be some technologies has to be reduced, or there has to be a radical change. Either we stop adopting them, but there has to be transition. And all these things, 3D printers making available and reducing that technological gap are the result of one of the reasons, like my friend has said, the patents are expiring and people are getting aware, people are knowing, people are appreciating how efficient and how big can this be. So we have decided, the whole presentation is we propose a short-term plan for a client, and the client that we have defined is a manufacturer which is currently using a traditional thing. And if this technology and this idea gets realized, then there has to be a radical change in the supply chain. We have to define another supply chain, or we have to modify the new supply chain, and my friend will continue.
So coming to the short analysis of our manufacturer, the strengths are that high capacity, and he has a lot of capital. He has expertise in procurement of raw material, since he has been manufacturing things on a very large scale. The weakness being that new technologies which are more efficient and coming up. The threats being the 3D printer itself, which will probably make the conventional manufacturing obsolete, and the opportunity being that a new era of industrial revolution is being awaited. So building on this further, so the supply chain right now is that a designer or the retailer want the product to be made near to his shop where he's selling it to the consumer. So this is basically because they want the consumer to make changes to the product as well. Hence, personalization of the products will take place in the coming era. So a consumer will probably go to a store and not select what he wants to buy, but probably make changes to the existing model as per his requirement and order it. That would be printed in the 3D printer facility nearby of the retailer, and hence applied to the consumer. Now the problem associated with this model is that setting up a whole 3D manufacturing facility nearby will involve maintenance cost for the retailer. Also, adapting to a new technology is a great challenge faced by the retailer or the designer. And second being that setting up of a complete facility for a retailer or a designer who makes just one thing. For example, someone who makes just one type of shoes will not find it efficient enough to set up a complete 3D printing facility nearby. So probably someone selling 10 things would like to set up a facility, but someone selling just one product or a couple of products would still want the manufacturing to be outsourced and not invest his capital into making his own 3D facility. So now coming to the short-term goal for the same, what we propose is that the move from the conventional manufacturing to the 3D printing is inevitable. Hence, what we propose is that a short-term goal for our manufacturer should be, rather than focusing primarily on large-scale manufacturing, receiving orders in bulk and then manufacturing them, he should focus on setting up these small inventories near the retailer or the designer where they'll be manufacturing or ordering their product to be manufactured. For some clarity, like when internet came, it was not that people instantly accepted internet and it was available in every house. Initially, there were cyber cafes that came up where people used to go, pay some amount, use the internet on the cyber cafe, and as the technology caught up, people started installing internet at their houses, and hence today internet is available in every household. So what we propose as a short-term goal for our manufacturer is to become equivalent of the cyber cafes in terms of 3D printing. So what we propose is that near the retailing centers, he sets up a 3D printing facility where the retailer and the designer will be placing orders to our manufacturer, and he'll be printing these, making these products in the 3D facilities. But as Anurag earlier explained, the move from 3D printing moving to every household is inevitable. Probably 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, it will happen that every household will own a 3D printer. So hence, this is a short-term goal for our manufacturer to set up a 3D printing hub close to major retailing centers. So as explained, the move from the conventional manufacturing to 3D printing, and 3D printer being available in every household is inevitable. Now building on that, I would like to come to the long-term solution that we have thought for our manufacturer. So the short term was ki, near every retailing center there will be a hub where he'll be making, producing, printing the product of the designer or the retailer. The long term being that once the 3D technology is accepted enough, that 3D printers are available in every household. The only limitation that 3D printers will be having is the material. People would be designing anything they want, but the limitation of the material still remains. So it's not that you can probably design anything, but you cannot get it printed on the 3D printer because of the limitations imposed by the material being used. So what we suggest is that once the 3D printers move to every household, the hubs created would be of probably no use because people will be designing their own things, but the hubs would be providing the materials required. So what we propose is that the manufacturer, while setting up these hubs, should be creating an online platform where the consumer 5 years down the line, once he has a 3D printer at his home, he'll be going on the platform, just typing whatever he wants to make out of the 3D printer, and he'll be suggested the best material possible for making that thing on the 3D printer. So basically creating a platform equivalent to a Google for 3D printers. So just type in what you want, the alloy that you would need, the amount of alloy that you would need, and the type which your 3D printer takes in. Where will that be available? So those hubs, when they become obsolete, those hubs will be used to provide this material to the nearby household. So now, coming to the equivalent of the internet that I gave up, the cyber cafes will become obsolete, but cyber cafes will be providing the materials that you require to install internet in every household. So like every time you print anything in your household using a 3D printer, the material will be provided by our manufacturer. And since, as I earlier mentioned, that our manufacturer has an expertise in procuring raw material, he can actually, the hubs, they can procure raw material, he can convert it on the 3D printer itself into the required material and deliver it to the consumer's house directly. So suppose I go and make a design of a gun on the 3D printer, and it says that I need an alloy of 70% steel and 30% aluminium and 1 kg is the requirement. So I'll place an order to the manufacturer. In the hub, he'll procure the iron and the aluminium. Using 3D printers available in the hub, he'll make an alloy which would contain 70% steel and 30% aluminium. This alloy, 1 kg quantity, will be supplied to me, which I would feed into my 3D printer and hence make the whatever product I have designed. So this is the long-term goal we propose for our manufacturer.
I would like to add a few things. Like traditionally and currently there are two major parties. That one party is the one who designs things, one who conceptualize things, and the one who make that concept of product realize. So that realizing party, that is the one who is doing the manufacturing thing, and the designers, for example, Apple just designs, it just designs the technology and it has outsourced its manufacturing. So in the long term plan, the designers will remain as it is. The manufacturer will have to shift his interest just from producing things to he can explore into the material side. And then there's another thing,
3D printer manufacturer. So what you're proposing is that in the long term there will be just 3 main parties that will remain. One is the designer, one is the 3D printer manufacturer, And the third is the material provider. So what we think is that shifting currently from designing is not possible for our manufacturer since he does not have any expertise in it. Manufacturing 3D printer in itself is an option, but what we think is that currently there's competition available in the market. Coming to the material side, that is a completely new and unexplored field. That is why we propose that our manufacturer should probably focus on the third field, that is providing material for the 3D printer. Not making 3D printers, not being the designer, being the facilitator in converting the design to the actual product. So that is what we propose as the long-term solution for our manufacturer. To accomplish that, I just explained the short-term solution as well.
Now I'll show you how that short-term solution also accomplishes the long-term goal. Because right now we have no expertise in 3D printing, what we'll do is, once we venture into this market of 3D printing and make these 3D hubs, so what will happen is we'll get this expertise in 3D printing, and then because we know from now that this trend is going to catch on, what we'll do is we'll start researching on these materials from now on, and because during this short term goal we'll make our expertise in this direction so that we can finally supply those materials. And how can we achieve this short goal itself? That can happen because what we'll do is, right now let's say I am a small manufacturer I'm a big manufacturer who is like manufacturing only 1,000 or 1,000,000 laces for a company. Now let's say it's Reebok. What I'll do is I'll shift my hub towards a retailing center where small hubs where Reebok is there, but there are many other companies which have other components to make, and because of this 3D printing can manufacture from that printer different things, many things like laces or maybe a car part from the same 3D printer. What this will do is that this 3D hub will diversify my field to almost all these different things, which will increase my revenue stream so that I can make more and more hubs. And from these hubs itself, because they are near this retailing sector, when I finally give them this material, I can myself convert to retailer. Because what our whole point is that once this 3D printing trend catches on, once we told you, this manufacturing thing is going to be obsolete. And what this has led to is that that we'll convert a manufacturer to this retailer, material retailer for 3D printing. And because this market is huge, because this is a 3D printing material market from which we can make almost everything. So this will lead to a very huge market for our manufacturer, and our manufacturer can then be a leading global manufacturer of materials of 3D printing.
Looking from a user's perspective, like for example, I own a 3D printer and I want to buy a shoe. I will go online, the designer company will have his own website, I can buy a design, I will buy a design file, and then
make personalized changes.
Yes, and I can, after buying the design of the shoe, I can personalize it, I can vary the sizes, a few custom made designs, and then after getting that design, I have to know which material do I want to make it. So the material website that my friend suggested, then I have to pay for the materials as well. That will be provided by the traditionally manufacturer. So I get the design, I get the material, that is feed in into the 3D machine, and I get that product in my home also. So this is the overall thing from a user perspective.
Yeah. So just summarizing it briefly, from the current conventional manufacturer, we turn into a hub which does 3D printing for retailers and designers who do not sell multiple things but sell a couple of products only. So they would not find it efficient enough to set up a complete 3D printing hub. Hence they would use our services when we have a hub. From hub, in the long term, when a 3D printing technology is more accepted, and while these hub, we also start gathering knowledge and expertise in 3D printing materials and everything. So while these hubs are being set up, we have the real estate there. The hubs are being utilized by retailers who sell a couple of products possibly. Once the technology becomes more acceptable and 3D printers are available in every household, so then we'll convert these hubs into material providing facilities for the consumer. Thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps I'll start with the question this time. You mentioned the time frame that you're expecting for 3D printing to become fully disseminated to the masses in 3 to 5 years, and you propose to create a hub in this time frame. and use the analogy of the internet cyber cafe, etc. What are your thoughts on the cost that you would have to outlay for a relatively short space of time?
Yes.
Looking at where cyber cafes are today, I mean, like, I'm sure when they look back, hopefully they would have recuperated the cost of actually acquiring these computers. I mean, can you share with us how you would propose for the manufacturer to justify the cost of building many of these hubs in the interim?
Thank you very much for the question, sir. Sir, as I just said that the analogy for, as per the internet goes on well till the cyber cafes. The difference between the cyber cafes and the manufacturer would be that cyber cafes probably stop there, whereas we have a long-term plan, and opening up cyber cafe is just accomplishing a let's say midterm goal for us to achieve the overall thing. Now coming to the cost of setting up a hub, buying real estate, let's say in a costly place, and the cost involved in that, the major focus of ours would be to market that hub as a facility for you to come and 3D print your material. So as I just said that the cost would be majorly coming from retailers and designers who probably sell a couple of products and hence would not find it economic enough to set up their own 3D printing hubs. They'll be using our facilities when we have the hub, and the money coming in through printing the product for these retailers, the not so big retailers which have just a couple of products to sell, that cost would be used to sustain the hub in the 3 to 5 years. So primarily that is the source of revenue, source of income that we think would be sufficient enough to sustain a hub in such a place.
I've got a question on your comment that you expect 3D printers to be in every household. Can you just expand on that? Because my understanding of a 3D printer, it's a manufacturing process. It's not like having a printer in your household for printing off your photographs. Can you just elaborate on your thinking and why you think households are going to have 3D printers?
Thank you for your question, sir.
Thank you for the question, sir. Just stating the technical specifications, since we all three are engineers and I even interned with a 3D selling company. So 3D printer right now would sound complex, just like internet did 10 years, 12 years before, but it is an extremely simple technology. All it does is that you make a design, a digital design on your computer, you send it, just like you make a, let's say, a Word file, you give the print command and your printer prints the Word file on a physical paper for you. The exact things happen in a 3D printer as well. You make a design, a 3D design of whatever you want. Let's say I want a customized t-shirt to wear for a party tomorrow. So I make a design for the t-shirt, given my design specifications, sizes, waist and everything, chest size. I make the design, I click on the print option. The 3D printer would by itself go on converting that design into a physical product, into a realizable product. So although it might sound complicated, now coming to the details of it, yes, there are many types through which you can make the 3D printer work. Also the input through the material inputted comes in different forms, depends on the manufacturer of the 3D printer. So yes, that is a little complicated, but overall speaking, the technology is as simple as printing a Word file right now in your office.
Yes, adding to that, like I told, like I discussed earlier, that the existing 3D printers can produce anything, but with only one material, or at most one or two materials.
Yes.
And the time frame, that 3 to 5 years in which that hub will be working. So another thing that will happen in that time frame is that there will be an integration of these technologies. These technologies will help integrate many materials. For example, I'm a consumer and I want a shoe, then I would require different types of polymers, I would require plastics, and I have to have that integrated technologically advanced 3D printers, and that advancement is what we have expected is to come from that time frame in which that local hubs will be set up.
So just to draw an analogy for you to understand this better, like a colored printer. So it mixes colors and gives you whatever color you want, right? But that happened over a period of time. So right now the 3D printers are like black and white printers. They just print in one or two colors, the colors being equivalent of materials. Soon there will be printers that will print any color. The colored printers print any color. Similarly, the 3D printers would make products out of any material by converting them into alloy, and they would feed on any sort of material. So right now 3D printer might be using just plastic. In the future it might use plastic, iron, any alloy, any other polymer possible.
So if I'm running a manufacturing company now, what should I do? What's the next step I should take?
If you are not a manufacturer,
If he is running a
No, if I am running a traditional manufacturing company now, what is the next step I should take?
sir,
Yes, sir. So the next step I'll take is that right now I have this traditional supply chain of making things, but what I'll do is because I am a big manufacturing company, I have some funds. I'll just make a hub for 3D printing. Like he said, that 3D printing is going to be a very easy technology. And it's going to be easier for the masses to use. So first of all, I'll invest in getting some expertise in this, and then I'll put my hubs on near the major retailers I have, near the major retailers and the major orders I get for my manufacturing. And because over there will be other companies who will also have their distribution centers. They'll also start ordering their products from me or their components from me, because it's easy for them. Because first what they had to do, they had to order it from China, and then it came from China, then they had to keep it somewhere, keep it in the warehouse, then they had to procure it. So everything, all these problems lead to extending in the cost and inventory and everything. But right now what I am offering is ki you are just across the corner and I'll give you the finished product. Because I already have one or two of the major retailers near me. When I do that, those companies will also agree. I'll just have to set up a big hub of many 3D printers which will be able to do that. And according to the orders, because the 3D printer will be able to print anything, what I'll do is, because of that, whatever the orders are, I'll give my clients whatever they want.
and sir, if you're asking for the immediate step that you would take probably in the next 5 minutes, what I would suggest is that you call up the biggest retailer from whom you get your orders and educate him about the 3D printing and its advantages and the cost reduction that he'll have through shifting rather than ordering his prototypes all the way from China and then receiving them back over a period of 3 to 4 months. Educate him about the technology, about the possibilities and the opportunities that 3D printing has to offer. So that could be possibly the next step in the 5 to 10 minutes you can do.
And what kind of products do you think is most suitable by using a 3D printer?
Sir, can you please-
What kind of products like shoes, clothes, hat, a computer, or even a gun? So what kind of product do you think is most suitable by using a 3D printer to produce, and why?
Thank you for the question, sir. Sir, what I feel is that once the 3D printer goes to every household, the major focus would be on the personalized items that you use. So, for example, everyone wants to look different in whatever clothing they wear, right? So, right now when you go to a shopping mall, you buy stuffs that have probably 10,000 of pieces dispersed throughout the city. Now everyone wants to look unique. They want to have unique clothes to wear, unique shoes to wear, unique glasses, unique watches. So the major focus, once the 3D printer is accepted in every household, would be on the things which make you look good. So that is what the major focus would be on. What we feel is that even if 3D printers are accepted in every household, no one would ever consider printing a car of their own through the 3D printer.
So
Because that has some limitations as per the size of the 3D printer. A 3D printer installed in a house cannot print a house complete, right? So for that you need much larger 3D printer. So what we think is that the 3D printer installed would be like daily use materials would be printed through it. So probably toys for your kids could be printed through 3D printer. Interesting toys could be made.
So adding to him individually, I would make those products that I can use personally. Like I can make small things, small toys, small tools to use. Be it clothes, be it shoes, be it anything. If not individually, if I have some sort of company, of a car company, then to make that production process efficient, then I would use the same 3D printers to make that. Not
So-
not the same, not the small one, but different kind of. But the technology will be the same.
So just imagine right now, in every one of us experiences that we keep a normal household thing somewhere, and when we need it, we forget where it is. So if 3D printing is available so easily at your place, why not press a simple command and manufacture that product on the 3D printer at the given time, rather than remembering where everything is placed. That is the limitless opportunity that 3D printer has to offer.
So, you mentioned about printing guns, which is an interesting product to use as an example. What I'd like to get your thoughts on the topic of how would one control the types of product which are printed to avoid individuals printing weapons of mass destruction, etc., on their printers. What would your thoughts be about how one might govern this?
So thank you for the question. One thing that can be done to prevent this would be like designs of guns and possible equipment which could hurt people or which are violent in any sense. It could be that the government probably can ensure that these designs are sold by certain companies only on particular websites, rather than enabling everyone to make these products. So while buying through a website, probably the government can control that website, or any authority can control that website and ensure that those are not misused in any way. Yes, but of course that is a potential threat that 3D printer possesses. Yes.
You paint a very interesting picture of the future where like everyone has a 3D printer,
Yes,
and
sir.
it's something that is quite exciting. As a traditional manufacturer, I mean, my expertise would lie in the manufacturing as well as in the sourcing, and you suggested that we should go and leverage our ability to source materials and mix these materials, etc. What is your thought process as to why wouldn't I just become the manufacturer of these printers, given the huge potential?
Or already competitors. और ये भी बोलिए कि 3D प्रिंटर में तेरे पास इनोवेशन की एक्सपर्टीज है, तेरे पास बनाने की एक्सपर्टीज है, उसमें इनोवेशन.
Thank you for the question. First of all, sir, I don't have that innovation expertise to build that 3D printer right now. Moreover, the thing is that if we take a long-term, they paint this as a long-term picture of actually manufacturing the 3D printers, then one problem is that you want to?
Yes, sir. So I'll continue. One thing is that a 3D manufacturing of the people buying 3D printer would in a way saturate in a time frame. So people would not probably buy a 3D printer every month or every 6 months. They'll be probably buying it for the next of 2 years or 3 years. Whereas the materials the products that they will be making on the 3D printer will be on a daily basis. Hence, also the second point being that the 3D manufacturing is currently saturated in a sense. So people players are already there who have expertise in making these 3D printers. And so third is that if you turn into a 3D printer manufacturing company, it will be extremely important for you to continuously keep on innovating, because 3D printing will keep on changing, just like our smartphones. There's something new every couple of months, every 2.5 months. So that is something which our manufacturer does not have the expertise in. He has expertise in large scale conventional manufacturing. So the main strength being, if he turns into a material provider, is the procurement thing, which he expertises in, the reason being that he's a large scale manufacturer. So because of these three reasons, we would not suggest our manufacturer to become a 3D printer manufacturer, but rather focus on providing the materials for the.
Okay, thank you very much, team of IIT Delhi.